All right, class, this is Dr. Pete, and this is more of a general video for the education channel, but looking at some of this, some of the calls and emails I've been getting, and what I want to emphasize in this one is that um, a lot of times we hear things and we don't really listen to them. And I can relate this to politics. Like, for example, I've talked about if someone says immigration, automatically people split and they don't listen to what people are saying. So I don't support illegal immigration. That doesn't mean I don't support immigration. That's silly. Okay, that would be silly not to ask. Well, Pete, do you agree in legal immigration? Well, yes, of course I do. The problem is um, we don't read history and we don't listen to people and we don't, like, for example, Ellis Island. You said example. There was one party in charge up there that made it very clear, along with the Congress, which was run by one party, that immigrants were not welcome. It was very racist comments, sexist comments, nationalistic comments, but that's history. It's not me distorting it. It's not me interpreting. It is on the walls at Ellis Island. Okay, it's very clear. So feedback is similar to that. If someone sits there and says, I am trying to tell you something, then listen to what they're saying. So, for example, if I'm sitting there telling you about APA, or hey, by the way, this is what a paragraph looks like, and you develop your work 4 to 5 sentences, don't go back and say, well, that's all about APA. Well, of course it is, because I'm trying to tell you this APA tool on how to write a good paragraph is probably a good idea because it helps you develop the length and the details and the specifics. When I say this is a target-rich environment, this paragraph, that what it's saying is, yes, it is APA. You need to cite something in your paragraph in proper APA. But it's not about APA itself. It's about how do you add that detail and that to that analysis? How do you add that extra step to that analysis? When someone says, you need to spell and then you need to use proper grammar, you say, well, that's all APA. You should read behind the words. Well, how are they going to do that? How's a professor going to do that? All they can do is read what you write. And while it may be clear in your head, it has to be clear in my head. And so some of the issues here is if you don't sit there and write clearly, well, then that hurts your development and your analysis. So professors can only grade, or let me say it this way, they should only grade what you submit. They shouldn't interpret it and think, well, I think that's what they meant, and well, I'll give them more points. Because what happens is when you get in the real world or with a real professor, all of a sudden it's like, no, we're going back to what you submitted. It's not what you think you did or what you want other people to think or that you can explain it. It's that this is what you submitted for your work. And when you don't submit that correctly, you may have a professor or a boss that says, well, we'll let it go. But in reality, most bosses don't like that. That means you miss out on promotions, you miss out on advancement, opportunities, extra training, growth. You miss out on all these things because they go, well, he or she is not ready to move forward. In the real world, too, some people say, well, I thought you were this level, but you're not, so we're just going to ask you to go somewhere else to be successful. That's a nice way of saying you're fired. And so when you listen to the feedback, don't just drop right into it and go, oh my God, it's APA, and the school told me APA is not important. It is important, but it's really the only tools that we have to show you how to do better. I can explain to you, like, look, you didn't put this detail and that detail, but I'm trying to show you the pattern. The patterns are 4 to 5 sentences, maybe 6 sentences per paragraph. The patterns are you cite in each paragraph. These are APA tools, but they help you to fully develop your work and develop your analysis. That's why these things are important. They're tools to help you visualize and to understand how to do the work versus just someone saying, well, here's some detail, here's this or that. It doesn't show you the techniques to get better, okay? And I think it also is disingenuous when people say that grammar doesn't matter. Good grammar never goes out of style, like Parvin Gibbs always tells me. If you have bad grammar, your ideas don't come through. Now, you may not like that feedback. You might fight that feedback, but that's the reality of the world, okay? That's how it works. So unfortunately, if you're weaker in that, don't take it as, well, this is a horrible professor. No, they're just trying to tell you this is something you need to work on. So you have to make a choice. Do I work on it or do I blame other people? Figure it out. I mean, when you get out of the class, you get the grade, you move on. In the real world, you lose jobs, you lose opportunities. You fight it or not. It's just the way it works. So I'm just trying to give you real world, because I'm a real world person. Okay, I have a resume that's based in the real world. Okay, and a lot of nonprofit work and a lot of high level work. I'm just trying to give you that feedback so you understand that most professors do care. Most of them do work hard. Most schools want you to get the most out of their education, because that makes for a good person out there to say, you went to that school, I want to go there too, or hey, we want to hire people from that school. That's why schools really want you to do the best you can. So that's just a video real quick, but that kind of explains a few things coming in. I appreciate it, and thanks again for all the topics.